Hi, this is Mark from Orange Rocket. Hope you're doing well. This is part 2 of analysing a market. Now, if you've watched part 1, if you haven't watched part 1, go back and watch it. But if you have watched part 1, then we looked at a variety of different markets. If you recall, we looked at the total revenue, which we discovered was 1.5 million for the market of dog beds in the UK. We looked at large dog beds, we looked at washable, we looked at medium. We decided that the medium market was around 720. Let's move that out of the way. And we did a word frequency counter to identify the individual submarkets. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to export, I'm going to use the medium dog market as an example, and I'm going to export this. And what we're going to do here, so what we got here is an export from DataDive as to what the medium dog market for the first couple of pages looks like. So we've got two options here now when I want to analyze it. There's just looking at it as a spreadsheet, and then there's all using pivot tables. So it doesn't really matter which way you do it. Let's just show you the first example that I tend to use. So the first thing I'll do is I will put filters on, and then I will sort it into revenue order. Let's just make that currency. So what we can see is there, now it's a little bit arbitrary, but what I tend to do is to split the market up into 3. Now it's a little bit arbitrary, but you'll get the idea. So what we've got is 3 markets. So there's the high sales market, the medium sales market, and the low sales market, or lower. So here's the high sales market, and what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to now be doing some averages of this. So I'm going to look at the average market, and I'm going to make that currency. I'm going to look at average sales, average units. That's obviously not a currency. I'm going to be looking at average ratings, and I'm going to be looking at average reviews. Let's just make that. And I think that's all we need to do. Yeah, so what we're going to do there is we're going to be looking at averages across that. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pause the video, I'm going to do it for the other 2 markets, and then I'll comment on them. Okay, so I have now sorted it and put all the averages in. So what we can see here is average price of the top market, medium market, and bottom market. I've also done revenue, I've done sales, which is units, I've done days. That's something else that I didn't mention earlier, but what you can do is you can use this formula. So you've got the listing age. So this was 29th of February 2020, and what you can use is this formula, which counts the number of days between today and this date here, and then that will tell you how old it is. So the average listing for that is 812 days on average, and then you can do average ratings and average reviews. And then what you can obviously do is to start looking at what are the characteristics of the individual markets. So you can look and say, right, well, you know, the sales revenue is obviously going to be an average of this. You can see that the average seller who's selling high volume is doing around 46. So you say, well, is that the sort of target I want to go for? If that's the case, then you need to answer a few questions, or ask yourself a few questions to say, what are the characteristics of the products that are in that bracket, and is it achievable for me to achieve this? And this is something that a lot of private label sellers don't look at. They just say, right, well, you know, the top seller's doing 97,000, therefore there's plenty of market for me, and that's achievable. I can do that. But what they don't look at is how long's that seller been selling, what are the characteristics of that product, and is it achievable that if a potential customer was looking at their product and my product side by side, that mine would get the sale rather than them, and how likely is it that Amazon's going to present my product alongside the top seller. So what you can start looking at, and it's not an exact science, and you can start dividing the market up into 5 segments. It doesn't really matter, it's the principle that counts. So you can say, look, the average seller is selling for around £25. Now obviously the top 2 in this example give you some quite wild discrepancy, different prices, so maybe we need to split this up a little bit more. But as a general guide, we can see that the higher priced products are selling best, medium sized products are selling medium, and the lower priced products are selling the least. So that's sort of suggesting to me that if I was coming to market and wanted to do big sales, then maybe a higher priced product might be worth looking at. And as I say, if you split that up into more markets, you get a better idea. So obviously unit sales are going to be different. There's no real difference in number of days, because sometimes you can say, right, well, the big sellers are selling big because they've been around a long while. No indication on this market. Obviously you can see where the sellers are coming from, but that's not really a factor. I don't tend to look at fees, that shouldn't be there. Not at this level of analysis. Ratings, you can say, right, well, there isn't actually a great deal of difference in the ratings. Reviews is usually where it comes down to. So the big identifiers are usually, if you're looking at a market, in my advice, it's reviews and price tend to be the big factors, and probably less so ratings. But these are the ones that you need to really pay attention to when you're analysing a market, and maybe to a lesser extent days. So these are the primary ones, price and reviews. So you're saying, look, if I want to come to market, then look at the difference in reviews for the top sellers, medium sellers and bottom sellers. So if you come to market with a great product, even if it's a high quality product, you're going to be competing in this area until you get a large number of reviews. And reviews is like the currency, so it's very much you need to look at, well, is it achievable? Well, the reason these guys are top sellers is because they've been around a long while, since 2020, and they've got a very large number of reviews. Now, I'm not going to get into a debate whether these reviews are genuine or nothing. That's not for a discussion today. But what we can see is that the number of reviews are a factor that affects the sales. So we can see here that large numbers of reviews, big variations, but as a general rule, you need lots of reviews to sell well. You need a medium number of reviews to sell medium, and a smaller number of reviews. Now, I know there's lots and lots of arguments about qualities, and you can sell well on lower reviews, but I'm trying to analyse a market to say what are the characteristics of the products that sell well and sell lower. And there's usually a correlation between reviews and sales volume, usually. And then ratings is really a factor for long-term success. So in long-term success, generally as a rule, the better products stay around longer because the reviews are higher. The fours, anything over 4 is considered good. So I'm going to leave it there. I'm going to do a third video. I'm going to do a third video, and I'm going to look at pivot tables to analyse this data separately. So I hope you find that helpful. Thanks very much.